Hello and welcome to the Astranti Guide to BA1. We're going to guide you through the whole of BA1, which will give you a great understanding of the fundamentals of business economics. However, today we're going to start nice and slowly and just look at Chapter 1. So today's presentation will focus on business organisations. In this presentation, we're going to look at micro and macroeconomics and get a really good understanding of what economics means and how it can be split up into two different types. Then we're going to look at what an organisation actually is, and we'll finish up by looking at the various different types of organisation. We'll start by looking at economics. Now, when you ask most people, what is economics? They tend to know that it's something to do with money or finance or something similar. And while all of these things are good answers, they haven't really got to the crux of what economics is. So let's start off by giving ourselves a formal definition of economics. Economics concerns the allocations of scarce resources. Scarce resources is anything that there's a finite amount of. So that could be people, or it could be money, or if you're a farmer, it could be seeds because you've got only a limited supply of seeds. Now, economics can be split into two categories, macroeconomics and microeconomics. We'll start by considering macroeconomics. Macroeconomics considers the decisions which impact the whole country's economy. So we're looking at the scarce resources on a really large scale. When we discuss macroeconomics, we're thinking about things such as unemployment levels, interest rates, exchange rates, and inflation. All these things impact the country's economy. So these are all under macroeconomics. We'll look at all of these things in more detail on later chapters. But let's think of an example for macroeconomics. One scarce resource in macroeconomics would be the government's budget. The government's budget is a limited amount of money they can spend on the country as a whole. The government might choose to allocate, or in this case we mean spend, their scarce resource on things such as schools, hospitals, or even prisons. But we know economics doesn't just focus on decisions which impact the whole country's economy. Microeconomics considers decisions which are at the level of the business. In a business, the scarce resource might be something like the profit. Now, the business could decide to allocate these scarce resources on things such as employing new members of staff, increasing the amount they're spending on their advertising, or purchasing new machinery to increase the level of production. So we can see that there are some clear differences between micro and macroeconomics. But it's important that you understand both of these terms, because in the whole of BA1, you will need to know about macro and microeconomic issues. So now we've got a good understanding of that, let's move on to consider what is an organisation.